Hello everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Schecter Blackjack's ATX V1. So this was my personal childhood teenage guitar. This is a guitar that I ran my scales with, that I practiced my arpeggios on, that I learned my first, Metallica, Megadeth riffs from way back in the day. And, I got it used, and even used it was beat to hell. So imagine me doing all of that extra work on this already pretty used instrument. So I'll give you a rundown through the specs real quick. It's got a tune-o-matic bridge, 2 volumes, 1 tone, tones maxed out as always, a 3-way switch, and I installed Godot locking tuners. The stock tuners were Grover's and they worked fine, but they were also tarnished from, sweat and just moisture that one guitar has over the years. So this is still a very functional guitar. It feels like a comfortable pair of sneakers, something that you just always gravitate to. And then in the back here, as you can see, it's a satin body, but the neck has been worn down. It's pretty smooth back here, but it's still super comfortable to play on. The neck shape itself it's not like super flat. It's not Ibanez flat, but it's still very comfortable and just rounded enough that you do have a little meat to grab on when you do those full step bends. And pickups here we have are 2 Seymour Duncan AHB 1s. So they're the Blackout series, but they're the first iteration that Seymour Duncan made. And then on the back here, what you'd see, battery compartment here, the control cavity here, the input jack cavity right down here. So now momentarily what we're going to do is we're going to take you through the rundown of what it took to restore this guitar and kind of the various challenges that went into basically bringing back a guitar from the dead. It's Schecter, so it's made well. My work was really cut out for me. All it was replacing some simple components. All right, get the bench. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a shop rag and I'm cutting a hole in it so that I can actually mount the top part of the tune-o-matic bridge and clamp it down with a set of pliers. And with the shop rag on top of the guitar, I can actually just go ahead and get some grip and move the stud left and right so that I can actually pull up at the same time and then be able to take out the whole mounting stud. So what I'm doing here is I'm masking off the sides of the headstock that I do not want to be smeared by the filler that I'm going to use for the old screw holes. So the thing with these new Godot tuners is that they have screw holes that do not align with the pre-existing screw holes that come stock with the headstock of this particular guitar. So what we'll do here is a very simple procedure. We're going to take pieces of toothpicks, they tend to be maple, and we're going to mix the toothpicks with some wood glue that you can get at Home Depot, and we're just gonna gloss over the wood holes of the screw holes of the old guitar, and we're just gonna plug them in. After plugging in all of the holes, all that's to be done is to sand down the excess material coming from the plugs so that we have a nice level surface to mount the new screws in, not to mention to mount the new actual tuners in. What I then did was take the new switch and put it in its place. So I took the new part and I mounted it by hand, and with the way that these 3-way switches come in from the factory, there are 4 metal, we can call them walls, and the 2 middle walls have to be connected together via a solder connection. So what I had to do was take a clamp and clamp these 2 metal walls in place. Then I took solder and successfully established a metal connection between these 2 walls so that I could then solder the middle wire from the control cavity to that position. So after all the fretwork is done and all the polishing is done, we just take off the tape and we give the guitar one final shine before we put on the strings. For the string gauge, I chose 10 gauge strings, and which allows me to tune comfortably to D standard and drop C. Alright, and now through the magic of editing and post-production, we're going to take you through a couple tones with this guitar. So for the signal chain, I'm using the Schecter direct into a Scarlett 2i4, and for our amp sims of choice today, we're going to be using Bias Effects 2 with the gate and tube screamer in front of a overdriven plexi style head, the YM model in Bias Effects 2, and the Rev ET90 cab IR from Glenn Fricker's IR pack. So just to start off quickly, here we go with the bridge. And for the neck pickup, we're going to turn off the pad on the Scarlett interface to account for the differences in output in these pickups. Here is the neck pickup in its full glory. Alright, that should be it for today. So if you want to see more builds, just go ahead in the comments. Let me know what kind of guitars you got to see. I mean, I got a couple in the closet that have yet to be done. So until next time, see you at the bench.